Now, broadcasting on Rockstar Worldwide from the Double Wide Production Studios, this is the Home Movie Legacy Project with your host, Rhonda Vigent.
And welcome to the Home Movie Legacy Project, where we focus on exposing real solutions to create a media legacy that lives. And so this is really why we're going to talk about today, this whole idea of analog we trust. So with that, I am so excited that John Hartman is going to be joining us here on the show. And so I understand that not only are you a filmmaker, but you actually have a web series called Retro Tube, and you're trying to convey the pros and cons of the historical TV experience and just kind of celebrating, analog TV experience, the days of VCR, film projector. And one thing that you said on your YouTube channel that I really liked is that scarcity creates value, and we appreciate these days more as we start to pay homage to them. And I definitely agree with you on that point.
I'm glad.
I love that you were just willing to take the risk and be self-taught, right? Because isn't experimentation often the way that we really learn something? Because we're just going to, dive in feet first and try to figure it out.
Honey, it was head first for me. And I butted my head all the way down that tunnel of ignorance. And I prefer to learn in that way, so I would agree with you. I have that bias because I don't really want to know what the rules are, because if I know what the rules are, I'm kind of obligated or tempted to follow them, and I don't want to do that because my philosophy basically is that if you don't know what the rules are, you at least have a slight chance at doing something original. So
that is absolutely true. So one of the things that I like about RetroTube is that it's collaborative, right, between you and other filmmakers?
Yes. Isn't that interesting? A lot of people initially were very excited to get me their tapes, and slowly but surely, after about 9 months, I've got some really, really great stuff.
So what made you decide that along from being a filmmaker, shooting your early projects in VHS, that you were just going to become an analog aficionado?
Well, honestly, I don't want to put down digital. I think digital has its place, but primarily I feel that, especially with HD digital, it's so polished and it's so clear that it doesn't really give us anything that our own two eyeballs can't. So if you wanted to take someone outside of the ordinary visual experience, you might want to think about using a different medium.
Awesome. And so I know aside from those early films that you made with video, you also have shot projects on Super 8 and 16 millimeter?
Yes. With great love and happiness. I can't even convey in words what goes through my soul when I hear that noise. By the way, that's also the sound of money.
But no, you are right about that. Absolutely.
And you have to be pretty squared away if you want to shoot in film, because you run out of film, you're in trouble. And I've had to do some pretty crazy things in the past. Stopping things down to one frame and just like stretching one frame as long as you can. And
absolutely. And so I think that RetroTube is awesome. I watched some of the films that you sent me, as long as some additional ones. So what was the inspiration to create a channel such as RetroTube?
I hate to admit this. I know I'm the first super VHS guy on your program here, but I'm a starving artist and I can't really afford film anymore.
Right.
So I thought, what am I going to do? I can't just go with digital. That's not my whole trip. So I decided that I would just try Super VHS again, with the hopes that there would be some type of nostalgia that would usher in this once again. You know how things come around. Vinyl came around again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And one thing that I find that's interesting when I'm talking to people is that they don't even they forget that VHS is an analog format. People still think oftentimes that VHS is a digital format, but it's not. And, it has all those great little artifacts and imperfections that we love so much about analog.
It is analog. I'm unleashed. Rhonda. Everywhere I go, pretty much, I have a smaller, regular VHS camera, which is considerably smaller than the Panasonic Super VHS, and I take that with me whenever I can. The other day, I did some performance art here in Seattle. I had a bunch of VHS tape wrapped around my body and wrapped around a friend of mine, and we just went out and we played with the tape, and it looked really awesome. Now, I know that's destructive for tape, but I think it raises questions like, what is this? What is that stuff? But one of the biggest drawbacks is that doing retro tube means that you have to film things as they would have appeared 30 years ago or before. So a lot of cars, a lot of outfits, a lot of buildings cannot be used. A lot of verbiage and other forms of expressions cannot be incorporated into that concept because they're just too modern. People pick out their cell phone, that's got to go. Sorry, everyone's on their cell phone, so.
Right. I'm with you. It would be much more, a much better choice for our industry and media creators to be able to actually repurpose it.
Absolutely. Very advantageous in a monetary sense to do that. And I'd always been told that these tapes, after a while, the magnetic signal is jeopardized and the imagery begins to fade. Which, if anyone has a 20-year-old tape, throw it in your VCR. You'll see what I'm talking about. There's one glitch after another. But if you have an older tape, and I've gone through so many of them because that's all I could get, when you play them, sometimes the image is so scrambled that you can hardly tell what it is. However, just as an experiment, I used one of these, and wow, what I recorded came out looking just as good as if it was a new tape.
That's amazing. So they're actually re-recordable.
It's good news, isn't it? And I think the only
news. Do you digitize your project, or do you like to play it right off like a VCR?
Both. I have thrown tapes into a VCR and recorded with a digital camera, which is complicated because of the fluctuation. I guess it's due to a different frame rate.
Yeah, 24 versus 30, and you get roll bars.
Yeah, there's a lot of quality lost. If you look at what's on the television tube through the VCR, the image looks a lot better.
In a creative sense, sometimes those artifacts are beautiful in and of themselves. They give a dimension to the project. Like you were saying before, it's better not to think of there as being any hard, fast rules because that gives you more creative freedom to, just really experiment and play with the formats and come up with something unique.
We're pioneers.
We're pioneers. That's right. I love RetroTube. I think one of my favorite ones was what was called Just in Time, and it's described as a cheesy noontime soap opera. TV guide, bad reception, time constraints, television, but yet it delivers such a powerful message regarding how we lived, and in some ways, as I said at the opening of my show, was that better? Was that better when we all lived in real time? I mean, I could really relate to the scene where the person's going through the TV guide, because that's what I did on Sundays. I'd read the comic book sections, and I would sit down with the TV guide, and I would read it from cover to cover and circle what I wanted to watch that week and hope it wouldn't conflict with something that somebody else wanted to watch, because we only had one television in the house. So there was another film on there that I really liked, Tower Princess, and that was done on Super 8, right?
Ah, that was Super 8, yes. 100D stock.
A 100D, okay, all right. And you said it was extreme because it was all first takes?
And that's not easy to do, because if you have to show a princess trying to escape a tower and then the guard is downstairs 5 flights below, and it keeps going back and forth between those two people, you have to run up the stairs, take a shot, run back down the stairs. So it's very hard. And I did do a little post with Tower Princess. However, Tower Princess was all shot with first takes, but it was not all sequential. It's just a very hard thing to do.
It is. I've been to some of those one-roll Super 8 film take festivals, and, you can tell that those people just put their heart and soul into that, because as you said, it is a lot of work when you're trying to do all the edits in the camera. But
and while we're on that topic, please don't let me forget about the PXL 2000.
Well, let's talk about that.
In 1988 and 1989, there was a Fisher-Price toy camera which came out, and it shot at 15 frames per second. And you recorded this, believe it or not, with a regular audio cassette tape. And you could film for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then your two AA batteries would have to be changed out. And before that happened, when the batteries began to weaken, the signal would become jeopardized, and the intentional noise was at a very high level. But my friends back in Baltimore, we didn't have enough money to go through AA batteries every 10 minutes, so we would often just keep it going until the image was completely obscure.
It's just part of this whole analog obscura that I just find so fascinating.
Analog obscura, bless your heart, that is
Yes.
a wonderful term.
I brought Phil Vigin in to weigh in a little bit as we wrap the show today. So hi, Phil, how you doing?
Hey, Rhonda, what's going on?
Good. Say hi to John.
Hey, John.
Hi, Phil, how are you? How do you like the Pixel Vision?
Yeah, I love all of these mediums, to be quite honest with you. It's always so much fun just to work with the technology and try to work with individuals who are trying to create movies out of these different formats and different cameras. I've been following your stuff on Facebook and stuff like that. It's always, if I'm in a down mood, I kind of look for a John Hartman film to kind of watch to kind of bring me out of it.
That's why I love you.
To get they're so funny and so entertaining that it's just a great kind of mood breaker for me. I just wanted to say hi and tell you what a pleasure it was to watch your films.
Thank you, Phil. Before you leave, I want to tell you that I'm blown away by the fact that you created the means by which to have negative Super 8 films. Thank you very much for that.
I was encouraged by filmmakers, really. It was really their idea, not mine, and I just worked out the facilitating of making it work. It was a great challenge, and I'm glad it worked out so well.
You're my hero.
And you're mine as a filmmaker. Thank you.
You're welcome.